Tonight's full-time fixtures webinar. Sorry, I just managed to stop sharing instead of unmuting myself, which is a great start. We're expecting tonight to last probably between an hour and a half, because we've got quite a lot of content to cover, and also give you a little bit of time for questions as well. So I'll get started straight away. Let's get rid of that. Okay, because of the numbers that we've got on the call tonight, we are running this as a live event on Microsoft Teams. So basically, this means that you're muted throughout the call. Now, it doesn't mean to say that we don't want to hear from you. If you do have any questions, and I'm sure most of you have been on one of these webinars by now anyway, please do use the Q&A section. It will be open throughout the WebEx, so please feel free to ask any questions whenever you like. We do have a scheduled break for questions after we've done the demo, which will take up the majority of the night. If you can't see the screen, if it's small writing, you can expand your screen. In the corner, you should have a full screen mode, so you can expand your screen so it's a little bit larger using that. Now, over the last couple of sessions, we've had loads of questions because of the numbers of people that we've had on. So we'll try and cover as many questions as we can. But obviously we don't want to run over. Those questions that we don't cover will be added to our knowledge base. Jack will be giving you a little bit more information about the knowledge base later on. So please don't worry if we don't get to your questions either tomorrow or over the weekend. We'll get those answered and stick them on the knowledge base for you. Now, finally, the session will be recorded. So if any of your colleagues are missing it, or, you know, again, we've got quite a lot of content, you can listen to the recording afterwards, and that will be available via the meeting link that you've used to get onto the meeting tonight. So about 20-30 minutes afterwards, that will actually be a recording of the session. Okay, so what are we going to look at tonight? So everything fixtures. We're going to look at other fixtures very briefly. We'll go through all of the fixture schedulers as well. We'll be touching on the venues and pitch availability, because obviously you can't be using the advanced scheduler without having a look at that. Jack's going to take you through the fixture list, and as I mentioned before, plenty of time hopefully for questions, and we'll talk a little bit about support. So my name's Claire Davidson. I work in the technology adoption team with Sam and Ash. I don't know whether Ash is on, but Sam's certainly here and will be helping out with the Q&A tonight, so we can get through as much as possible. I'm also joined by Jack Patmore. He's the grassroots service desk manager based at Middlesex FA. He's going to be doing most of the hard work and the demo. And Nathan Batchelor's kindly joined us. Nathan's the National League Services Manager, so he'll just be talking about what support is also out there for clubs and leagues as well. So without further ado, we'll move on and have a look at our ecosystem. So this is basically just showing you the systems that we currently use. So we've got the whole game system, obviously full time, which is our league administration tool, and FA Match Day, which is all about the team managers. So this is really just showing you how we're trying to make your life easier. So anything that you feed into whole game, like your seasons and your divisions and your team admins, etc., that will push into full time. Now, we have next week got a couple of webinars on full-time integration, where we'll go into more detail about what data pushes across. So don't worry too much about that. It's really just to give you an idea of what pushes where. Your manager's coach is going to match day, and full-time and match day also talk to each other. So we're going to move straight on to full-time and all that you need to know about it. So depending on which schedule you use will depend on, you know, what information that you need to put in. So I'm going to jump straight away to our full-time demonstration. So if you can just bear with me one moment, I'm going to stop sharing for a second, so you might see that it goes on to hold, and I'm just going to share my desktop so I can actually do the demonstration. If you can bear with me 1 second. There we go. Sam, Jack, can you just confirm you can see that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
No, thanks. Great. I'm just going to make sure I'm signed in as my right league. And the first thing that I would like to talk about is using other fixtures. We're going to start with the easy stuff. So other fixtures are things that fall outside of your usual schedule. So they can be created within fixtures and other fixtures. So you have the chance here. Other fixtures are just things such as county cups, friendlies, etc., that aren't within your league divisions and your matches that you've set up within the whole game system, and are also outside of your league cups. They're handled within whole game system, but anything else you can create under other fixtures. You've got the option here to add a group. So if I just click on the maintain groups there, it gives me the option to add a name. So in this instance, I'm just going to create some county cups. What sequence do I want to show in my drop down? So I'll put this second, and it gives me the option, do I want to include my stats? With things like county cups, probably not, because a lot of the teams will be outside of my league anyway. So I'm just not going to include. If I click on add here, I can now see that this county cups has been added. And if I go back to fixtures and other fixtures, if I click on my drop down, county cups now appears. Now, if I want to add a match into my county cups, I can just simply put a fixture date in here. Now, if the team that I want to put the match in for already exists within my league, then I can simply pick them from a drop-down box. But it might be that they're playing a team outside of my league, so I can also add an external team by just clicking on Manage Teams. It shows defaults to your teams that you've already got. But if I click on External, it gives me the chance to create a brand new one. So let's just create a new team, NUFC, and where do they play? Let's have it at St James's Park. Okay. So if I now create this team, it's shown on here, and if I go back to fixtures, other, and I'm still on my county cups, it will now give me the option to pick this external team. So if I look, say NUFC is playing Club A2, A22, where they're playing at, St James's Park. So it gives me the option to create a brand new fixture. So you can create as many or as few as you wish. Okay, that's other fixtures. Now, the second thing I'm going to show you is our template scheduler. So all I've done there was just go into fixtures, scheduling. Now I'm doing the nice easy one for you tonight. So the template scheduler is primarily used for like simple, single, smaller size division. So if I just click on go here, it asks me which division do I want to select. I can do both at once if I want, but in this case I'll just do division A2. Do I have any teams that play at the same venue? I can click yes, no, click on next, and it's asking which teams do play at the same venue. So it'll give me a list of my teams. So let's say A2, 22 and 32. You'll have to excuse the names, they're really poor, but this is our test site. I'm sure Jack's got some better examples when he goes through. So I can create this, and then it shows here which teams do share the pictures. You can go on and create as many as you need to. Click on the next step. How many times do I want the teams to meet? So we can just go with the standard 2. I want them to meet twice, so we've got 5 teams, so they'll have 8 matches, play each other twice. Click on next step. And here you can start putting in repeating time slots. So when do I want the schedule to start? So my teams, I happen to know, play on a Wednesday and they play at 6 o'clock. So I can just change that as necessary. So how many fixtures do I want per time slot? Obviously, I've only got 5 teams I think I had within this division. So I can only have 2 per night, which means 4 teams are playing. And I can create that. I can also create another single time slot. I don't know, we'll say everybody's getting together for a festival on the Saturdays, so I can create a single time slot for the Saturday, or I can create a closed time slot. So say I don't want them to play on that Wednesday at all, so I can create a closed time slot. When I've done all of this, it says when do you want to start, or how many days in between your matches do you want. I just want all of my matches played as soon as possible. And it gives you the option here at the bottom to review your schedule. Now you can see here, because I've put in that 2 people share a venue, that my 2 teams, I think it was A22 and A32, will never play at home at the same time, because they share a venue. And all I need to do is to review my schedule, check that I'm happy with everything. Might want to change a few bits and pieces around, but if not, if I'm happy, all I need to do is go and create a fixture. So this is, you know, a nice, easy way to go through it, and it's just ideal for smaller leagues, smaller divisions, etc. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is venues and pitch availabilities. Now, obviously, it hasn't got a lot to do with fixtures, but if you take the time to set up, it can take a lot of time really to set up your venues. But if you want to use the advanced scheduler to its best effect, then it's really worth taking the time to get the information in right. It will take you a long time if you're a big league, but it's a one-off task and the data is going to pull over in full time, season on season. So to get to venues, all I've done was set up and venues. Now, as a brand new league, when the information's transferred from the whole game system into full time, all of the venues will show as the club name initially. So, but as a league, you can either edit the information and manually change it. So I could just manually type all of the data in there. Or what we would recommend is you go and have a look, click on select ground in under Pitch Finder. You've got the option to select a ground. She says, there we go. So in this case, I'm just going to look for Wallsend. So let's have a look. You can put a postcode in here, anything you like. So, okay. So I can see I've found a pitch here. So Wallsend Boys Club, the Club of Champions, the likes of Alan Shearer, Lee Clark, all came from Wallsend Boys Club. Now you can see here that it gives you the site information. It's telling me Wallsend Boys Club. They've got 5 grass pitches, not artificial pitch, floodlit pitch. So I can select this site. So if we just wait for that to update. Now the venues are in the values are in alphabetical order by venue name. So I can see now that club A2, A21 has now been changed. They now play at Wallsend Boys Club. Now, when it comes across, I mentioned before that there was 5 pitches there. It will always come across into full time as one pitch However, you do have the option to edit this information. So it might be that you want to call your pitch, you know, something that means a little bit more to you. So in this instance, all I've done was edited it, said the pitch was an 11-11 one. I can go ahead and add a couple of pitches if I know that they've got more than one pitch. So I'll just put pitch number 2 is the 9v9. Oops, no, I won't. I'll try. Pitch number 2 is a 9v9. I can create that. Create a third pitch. 3 pitch is a 7v7. Okay, so I can just go ahead and create as many pitches as I want, because I want the information within venues to be as accurate as possible, because it gives the advanced scheduler the chance to work correctly. So what we recommend is that you set up all of your venues and your pitches correctly first, and then you can go ahead and allocate your teams to the relevant venue and or the pitch. So once I've set my teams up, so if I go back to venues, just to show you for 1 second, so that Wallsend Boys Club now is shown with 3 pitches. So I've got Club A2, Team A21. So I'm just going to jump into setup and teams and show you how you would allocate a pitch to a team. So you can see A2, A21 playing at Wallsend Boys Club. Because I know this is an adult team, previously I've already allocated them only to play on this pitch. Now if I go back and we look at this next club, I also know that they play at Wallsend Boys Club, so I'm going to add a venue. It gives me the option to Wallsend Boys Club, but let's just say this age group is under 9s, so they play at the 7v7 pitch. I want to leave it as priority 1 because that's the only pitch that they will ever play on, so I can add that as a priority for them. Now, so I can see they've got the option of playing at the green at the minute and Wallsend Boys Club. Now, if they only play at Wallsend, then I can remove the green from their records. So within the advanced scheduler, it will always pick up that they'll play on pitch number 3 at Wallsend Boys Club. So you would just go ahead and add the correct pitches and the correct venues to each of your teams. Now, of course, you can have teams pitch sharing, no problem at all. So if I just go to the next team, go and edit that team, I can once again say they play Wallsend Boys Club, and I can pick that pitch again. So if I look in venues now, it shows me I've got these 3 different teams playing within Wallsend Boys Club. Okay, so hopefully that's explained the venues for you. Now I'm going to hand over to Jack, as I mentioned before, and Jack's going to take you through the other schedulers. So if you'd like to take control, Jack, that would be great.
Would you just be able to share the PowerPoint for a second, Claire, and I'll take them through some of the definitions?
Of course I can. Yeah, give me 2 seconds.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. So I will be taking you through advanced schedulers. And first of all, thank you, Claire, for showing us through the venues, which will be really crucial, as Claire said, in running advanced schedules. Now, in terms of the scheduler, it's the most complex fixture scheduler that we have within full time, and crucially, it allows for venue sharing between divisions. So if 2 teams in different divisions share venues or time slots, so when they can play at those pitches, it will take that into account. And and it will allow you to run that within the schedule. So it's more advanced than any other schedule within the system. And there's a couple of definitions here on the screen now, which you will need to, which we'll refer to throughout the next 20 to 30 minutes. So first of all, venues, as Claire's just shown you, before you getting set up on your schedule, you'll need to make sure that all of your venues are correctly set up and assigned to the teams. This will allow the scheduler to mirror fixtures for teams round sharing. So for example, if Team A and Team B are playing at the same ground, then obviously Team A will need to be at home the same week that Team B are away, or vice versa. So those venues are really important, and to make sure that they're sharing the same ground. Secondly, we have time slots, which is a word you will hear many times during this session. And time slots state at which time a fixture can take place. So when are you playing football? Is it Saturday 3 p.m, for example? Additionally, it's when division teams and venues are available. Time slots can be added during the season as well. So you don't need to include contingency time slots. So for example, if you're thinking, well, we might need to get in some midweek fixtures later on in the season, you don't need to put them in at the start of the season. Instead, you're going to plan around your framework for the season and then add those in later. The fewer redundant time slots you have, the quicker and more efficient the schedule will run. Next, we have primary and secondary time slots. So each time slot must be allocated as a primary or secondary. The scheduler will try and assign firstly to a primary time slot, and then with the remaining fixtures, it will assign it to a secondary. Now, usually you will use these time slots to differentiate between things like weekend and midweek. So it may be that primarily you want to get the fixtures played at weekends, but actually because of the amount of fixtures, your secondary time slot is going to need to be midweek. So if we can't schedule all the fixtures into the weekends, then we will get them in to midweek into your secondary time slot. We've got time slot variation. So this is clever, and it allows you to add some variation into the times that kickoffs are taking place. So for example, if you're a league that has that says the teams can kick off on either a Saturday or a Sunday, you can add that in within your time slot. Or if you let your teams kick off at 2 p.m. or 3 p.m, depending on floodlights and things like that, again, this will allow you to set that within your system. And finally, what we will go into first is your schedule group. So you can set up different schedules for different schedule groups. So for example, you may be a youth league who runs both youth league and mini soccer, and you want to set up different schedule groups for those because you have a separate way that your fixtures are going to take place. Now you can set them up additionally as different schedule groups, but we would want you to minimize the number of schedule groups as the scheduler will only take account venue sharing when the teams are in the same schedule group. So it's best to try and do them all in one and really get them all together. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you into the live site and we're actually going to run through the advanced scheduler all together. Now, I'm hoping I'm sharing my screen. I think I am. And we are in the scheduler tools now. So you get here by clicking fixtures, scheduling/rescheduling. And you're then brought up with the following options. So you've got template scheduler, advanced scheduler, and legacy fixtures. So we've seen template scheduler earlier. Legacy fixture was part of advanced scheduler when full-time was first released. So really you've got these two options, and we're going to obviously click advanced scheduler. And we're brought up with these. You'll be brought up originally with two options. So advanced scheduler and lead setup wizard. The one you'll need to click is advanced scheduler. Sorry. No, we're not. We're going to maintain schedule groups first. So at the top, as we just mentioned, we've got different schedule groups you can set up. So if I click on this button just here, I can see the different schedule options I've got. So I've created one for the default one, which you will have already in your system. I've created one called mini soccer, one called youth, and actually I'm going to add one in as well called adult. And if I wanted to, I can schedule in these different schedule groups next to the relevant fixtures. So if you're going to keep the schedules separate, you can put them in next to their relevant divisions. So you might put in mini soccer, for example, against all mini soccer divisions. But for these, actually, as we said, we're going to try and keep the competition all together, and we're going to try and run the schedulers as one within the default. So next, once you've set up those scheduler groups, we're going to begin to set up that new schedule. And I'm going to click Advanced Scheduler. Now, the first page is the settings page, and this is just setting up your core information about your league and how you want your fixtures to schedule. Now, something that people get hung up on and get confused about, probably because of the wording more than anything, but is this rest hours. So it's the minimum number of hours that should elapse between consecutive fixtures for a team, i.e. You don't want team A playing Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So this is the minimum number of hours that you think should elapse between one team playing and then playing again. How long should it be in between? Now, some people obviously put in a week because they want them to be playing Saturday to Saturday, so put in 168, which is the maximum, but actually we would recommend you putting in 48. So this ensures that no team will play within 2 days, but it doesn't mean that they will play outside of time slots. So because you're going to be putting in those time slots anyway, i.e. you're going to be saying we only want you to play Saturday and Tuesday, it will stick to those time slots. So we would recommend leaving it to 48, and you can always come back and modify it anyway if you need to. But please don't worry too much about rest hours. So please just try and set the minimum that you can. Then down here, we've got your kind of usual details you'd expect to see. So you've got 2 boxes you'll need to fill out. First of all, the number of times you want the teams to meet. So for this league, we're only going to meet twice. And then the number of days the same teams cannot play. So that's 21. And just to confirm what that is, it means if Team A plays Team B on the 1st of January, they won't be able to play each other again until the 21st of January. So still those 21 days have elapsed. Now, once you've got that set up, you can go into the next step. And we're going to be looking at time slots. And time slots is when your teams can play. Now, for this league, we are going to be playing on Saturdays. And so primarily, I want my team to be playing Saturday, my league to be playing Saturdays, and we're going to kick off at 3 o'clock. So I'm going to set the start date. Actually, we're not going to kick off till September. And I want all of my fixtures to be completed by, I've only got 8 teams in each division, so that's 16 fixtures. So actually, I want us to be finished by 20th of January, because then after that, we're going to get into some development groups and cup competitions. So I think we want to be finished by that. And I would recommend setting a smaller amount of weeks as possible. Because if you only have 16 fixtures, for example, that you need to schedule, and you schedule them till June, it will try and space out those fixtures up till June. So please try and give yourself a few weeks leeway, but try and fit them in as the shortest amount of time as possible, because you can always come back in and add extra time slots as needed. So as we said, start date 1st of September. I'm confident we can get them all done by 20th of January. This is my primary time slot, because I think that I prefer my teams to play on Saturdays, and then I can add in conflict range hours before and range hours afterwards. And this is giving that leeway to this kickoff time. So if you wanted the teams to kick off between 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock, you could put in conflict hours 2 before, so it can go back to 3 o'clock. That's not 3 o'clock, that's 5 o'clock, Jack. You can put in four hours, and you can put in 1 hour afterwards. So I'm happy them to kick off between 3 o'clock and 8 o'clock. You can put in those hours, which will create a bit of flexibility for those teams. When you click create, it will then create you down here, as you can see, your Saturday primary time slot. So every week it will create those primary time slots on a Saturday. You've then got the option to create your secondary time slots. So actually, I think that in the early part of the season, so I know that all of my clubs don't necessarily have floodlights. So between September and October, I want my teams to be playing on Tuesdays as well. And they're going to have an earlier kickoff time. They're going to be kicking off at 5. It's a strange league, I know. But we're going to put in the Tuesday time slots here. We're having them as secondary because we want them ideally to be playing on Saturdays. but then they can play Tuesdays if we run out of time. And I'm going to hit create. And what this will then do again is create these secondary time slots down here. Now, actually, it might be that you know that all of your teams within the league are participating in the FA Cup this weekend, and you don't want any teams playing in here. You can delete that weekend as a time slot. Alternatively, if you're running a youth league, it might be that it's, for example, the Christmas holiday or something like that. You know that weekend is the first week before Christmas. My teams aren't going to want to play there. I'll delete that as a time slot, which means those teams won't be scheduled a fixture. Your other option, rather than repeating time slots, so this will create a time slot every week. You've also got the opportunity to create single time slots. Now, this is useful for special fixtures, such as, you know, when leagues want to play on Boxing Day or New Year's Eve or New Year's Day or something like that. You can create those single time slots as well. So if I add in the 26th of December and select the time that I want the teams to kick off, so we're going for a noon kickoff, again, I can create it, and the system will then also add in this date as a time slot and schedule me in some fixtures for Boxing Day. Now, a word of warning, or a top tip if you like, don't add in unnecessary extra dates of the season when you're creating these initial fixtures. So as we said, you know, if you want in contingency time or stuff like that, don't add them in yet. You can always come in and create additional time slots. To start off with, create your bare bones and get this run, and then we can add them back in later on in the season. Otherwise, it will slow the scheduler down, and you could come out with a little bit of mixed results. So I'm happy with that. I've got all my time slots set up. I've got 23, as we can see, so that's more than enough, I think, to complete my fixtures. I'm going to click next step. And this is taking me into my availability. And what this allows you to do is it allows you to select when teams aren't available or venues aren't available as well. Now, for example, again, I know that the AFC Lionesses, they're actually playing in the FA Women's Cup on the 17th of September. So I'm going to mark them as they can't play. So I don't want them scheduled a fixture then. And I would just tick that box there. I can do that for both divisions. So I can go into the Elite Division and actually exactly the same. They've got an FA Cup match. I'm going to select them as not being able to play. That's within teams. If I click venues, then it's doing exactly the same, but for venues. So when is that venue out of action? Here we've got Bushy Grove Leisure Centre. Actually, I know that they've got cricket on until the 17th of September. So the cricket greens marked out. We can't play any football on that pitch there. So I'm going to have to mark that facility as out of action. And if two teams play there, so I have a team in the Elite Division who play there and a team in Division B2, you'll see that it will mark them out of action for both. So that means then those teams who play at Bushy Grove will have to play away on those weeks, and the scheduler will work that out for you. Now, note during the season, these boxes will change. So if it changes to green, it means they already have a fixture assigned to that weekend. So you might have to reschedule if you see it as green and you suddenly have to mark their venue as inactive. You might get a conflict. You might have to remove that fixture. And if you get a red, you can also use it to check if any teams are double booked or anything like that. So for cup competitions or similar. So I'm happy. I've got my availability in there. I've got some venues out of action at the moment, and I also can come back into the availability at any time to mark these venues out. So if a pitch, for whatever reason, the floodlights have gone, they can't play on Tuesday nights anymore, you can come in and mark them and run the scheduler again. Next, I'm moving into fixture constraints, and the scheduler allows constraints as in when two teams cannot play, but also when two teams must play. Now, to start off with cannot play, actually, I know that between FC Yellow Quad and Iconic Arch, I know there is a large travelling distance, and I don't want them playing midweek because I know that the team won't be available and it will be too far to travel after work. So what I can actually really usefully do is I can select a specific time slot for them not to play. So they cannot play, we cannot allow a fixture FC Yellow Quad under 16s versus Iconic Athletic on any Tuesday evenings because they won't be able to make it, too far travelling. Your opposite to that is when you must play. And an example of a must play fixture, it might be that actually on those Boxing Day fixtures, as you can see here, I know that Iconic Arch Hornets versus Hotspur is a great local derby, and I want that to be on Boxing Day. You can, again, it's exactly the same as we've just done in Cannot Play. You can select 2 teams that must play and select them on a time slot that you want them to play on. So that is just, again, further refining what you want your scheduler to look like. Now, if I click next step, I'm now on the review and submit. And now just some top tips before we get on to reviewing the teams. First of all, just again, don't add in unnecessary dates that you don't need in terms of extra dates to cater for games that you think might not get played. Try to put in as short gaps as possible, typically 48 hours as rest periods. Remember that your schedule group doesn't immediately create these fixtures. So do not worry about hitting review and sending these schedulers through and it will suddenly be on your website. That's not going to happen. You have to approve them and you get the chance to accept or modify them, as I'll show you in a second. Remember, you can keep one schedule whilst producing a second one to try and refine it. And also try to schedule as many fixtures at the same time as possible, because this will give the best results in regards to fixture share, in regards to venue sharing. So try and run them together as much as possible. So I've got to the final stage. I've got my 2 divisions. I'm going to tick them both because I want them to be run together. I'd always recommend ticking the full option to give you the best possible solution. And also another tip, just for the first time, when you are running a schedule, it's always best to try and not run too many options. So actually produce a rough schedule to start off with and then come back into the scheduler and refine it again. So it might be that you run it first time just on full with no smoothing options and then it comes out perfectly. You don't need to run anymore. But actually you might need to make some modifications, and that's when you can come back in and use the smoothing options. And you've got a few to aid, and the system will look to include these. So avoid the teams playing 3 times consecutively, the same one for twice consecutively, schedule the matches ASAP, and avoid using secondary time slots. So all of those smoothing options can be added. So I'm going to go for, actually, we just need those matches scheduled in ASAP. And if I click review, it will say review complete. So it will actually do a initial check on my scheduler, and it will tell me if there are any immediate errors that it can spot. So any easy errors that the system can spot where it thinks it's just going to waste your time producing it, it will tell you, and you can go back in and immediately rectify those issues. Hopefully though, you'll get this review complete message, and it will tell you there are no problems found. You can then click schedule and type in your email address here, and that is where a nice notification message will come through to say your scheduler is ready. And at this point, you will go back into the scheduling. If I click Advanced Scheduler, you see you get a nice big warning up here anyway. So you have one batch scheduler pending review. And that's when you're clicking on Schedule Outcomes. And you can see here that I have my options. So it's telling me that actually there's 8 unscheduled fixtures, which I'll need to have a look at. And also that there's 1 conflict. So I can click here and click my conflicts. And I can see that actually, because I've set Bushy Grove Leisure Centre and I've already scheduled in previously this fixture, I'm going to need to remove that. So I will know I need to go into that fixture and have a change around. I can also look through my proposed schedule and I can have a quick flick through. So the sort of things I would be looking for is I know that White Spurs and Hotspurs share a venue, so I'm just going to have a quick look through and make sure their fixtures are mirrored. So 14th of September, Hotspurs are away and White Spurs at home. Brilliant. And I would just have a quick flick through these pages to make sure everything looks okay. So you've got two options here. You can either reject the changes and you can delete the batch. You can go back into the scheduler, so everything is saved. So you can actually leave this batch here. Actually, I want to run it again, but I want to make some changes to the availability. I can go back in here and it will produce a separate batch of fixtures. So you can compare which one you think you should keep. Now I'm going to accept these, this batch, and I'm going to confirm accept. And this will then produce my fixtures ready to be played. And if I go into fixture list now, all of my fixtures have been produced and they're already on the full-time website. If I click conflicts up here, this is where I will get any conflicts, and I will need to make sure the status is correct, and any unscheduled fixtures as well. You can see any that you need to still schedule in because the advanced scheduler couldn't find a match, or maybe I might not have put enough game weeks in there to match them all and the constraints I had within the system. Now, if during the season you have some postponed matches, so I'll go in and quickly postpone some. So on the 7th, there was a few teams still on holiday. And within the fixture list, you can do this if you didn't know. I was going to come on to fixture list later, but I can just click actions. And I've got the option to do a few different things. So I can change venue, date, status, add or remove days to the fixture, change time, change status time. But the one I'm going to use is change status. So actually, I know these fixtures were postponed, and I'm going to hit postponed here, and I'm going to update them. And now we can see those fixtures are marked as postponed because none of those teams could make the first week of the season. What a great start. We'll go into fixtures and scheduling again, because I now know that I need to reschedule these 3 fixtures. And if I hit reschedule and reschedule again, I don't think that should happen. We are then got back into the advanced scheduler. But the difference is with this time within reschedule, you're looking at choose fixtures. So you can go to your choose fixtures tab. You can review all of your settings, but as we know, we've just set them up. They're exactly the same as what they were before. But I can go into choose fixtures. I'm only looking for postponed fixtures in this case. So you can select which ones you want to have a look at, but I'm only looking for postponed fixtures. I can select those relevant fixtures. So I'm going to click add checked. And I'm going to click next step. And I can then reschedule these fixtures in for a future date, working off of the settings I've previously used within Advanced Scheduler. So it will automatically suggest some new dates for these fixtures in the future. And this is where the Advanced Scheduler becomes really useful, because it does take quite a bit of time, as we've seen tonight. And I've only gone through it you know, in brief. There'll be more options you'll need to add in such as availability and things like that. But actually, once you've got that core set up, when it comes to running it in the season, adding in extra time slots or rescheduling fixtures, it can become really efficient, and you can begin to modify that in your own way and find out how it works best for you. And it does work differently for each league. So, for example, earlier on, we spoke to the TJFA, who use a slightly different method to what we use. So what they actually do is, and we've got notes on this, which we will send out to everyone on the call, but they actually set up the pitch names as the various different formats of football. So 5v5, 6v6, 7v7, 9v9. They set up their pitch names as each of those, as Claire showed you earlier. And then within the maintained schedule groups, rather than do it as mini soccer, youth and adult, they call theirs 5v5, 6v6, 7v7. And then for each 5v5 division, they will apply the same scheduler group. And what that will do is it will take out the risk of venue sharing not being run. So it takes out any risk of venue sharing across divisions being a problem, because we know that any teams who are playing in the 6v6 group aren't playing. It won't matter if they're venue clashing with the 5v5, because they're not playing on the same pitch. So there are alternatives in using the advanced scheduler, which you can have a look at. We'll post all of this to our knowledge base, which I will show you in just a second. But also, you've got the support widget down here. So if I click on advanced scheduler, so I'm in advanced scheduler now. If I click on the support button down the right hand side, you do get your suggested articles. You can search for help as well. So it might be rescheduler. I might have a hyphen in or not. But for example, advanced schedule comes up here, and I think this has reschedule in it anyway. But you have your article here to refer to. So if you wanted to have a look at anything that we've spoken through tonight, so I want to look at my time slot, you can click and navigate down to the relevant section to have a quick look and see if this can guide you through it. Alternatively, within the widget, you can also hit contact us, which will send a message straight through to the service desk, the full-time team who look after the site. And you can add in screenshots, upload files, and submit that straight through to the full-time team, and it will automatically capture your name and email address within the widget. So please make use of that as you can. And you also have guidance of all of this within the knowledge base. So grassrootstechnology.thefa.com. You can go into the solutions tab, and if I go down just to the relevant full-time section, we've got loads of different articles here on full-time, and exactly the same search function. So if you was looking for advanced scheduler, you can search it and it will bring up those relevant articles. So you always have the option to go back to the support button and the knowledge base as you need it. Now finally, what I will show you is, after the scheduler, is your fixture list. So we looked at it just a second ago, but really this is also where, if you weren't using the advanced scheduler and you was looking to change fixture dates and things like that, we're currently working on being able to change the status of the date, of postponed fixtures. So if you look at the moment, or it might have been fixed or no, so here it says you can't change the date of the postponed fixture. We're working on getting that changed so you can. But for example, if you wanted to change the dates of these fixtures on bulk, so actually these three, I just know I need to stick them to the end of the season. I can change date and time of these fixtures and manually choosing the relevant date and time, and it's as easy as that. So you can just manually do it there. Should you need to, off the top of your head, you know when they can play rather than running the scheduler. You also have all of your filters up here, which you can use to filter via relevant fixture group, and more importantly, status, so normal and postponed, just so you can see those postponed fixtures. And you also have your other options up here, such as your conflict checker, to check that two teams aren't playing on the same day, or that you've got more than one referee appointed, for example. So also check your referees that are being assigned. Now, I think we're going to run back over to Claire, who's going to, I think we've got question and answers next. I hate to think how many questions we've got on this. But whilst Claire takes that back across, like I say, if you've got any questions at all, have a look at the knowledge base. It may well be useful. It may have your answer already there. Or alternatively, please do get in touch, and we may be able to, we'll hopefully be able to talk you through the issue and come up with a resolution.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Jack. I think you've covered all of the slides there. There is some additional slides. They're just reminders for you, and it will also, they do include links to our knowledge base as well, and we'll make sure they're put on the slides, as you can see there. So I think I'm going to pass over to Sam, who's going to ask questions, and Jack and I will attempt to answer them.
Yeah, brilliant. Perfect.
Yes,
let's start from the very top, and I'm going to try and chunk some of these down because they are quite lengthy in terms of more specifics, but I'll try and make them more generic. So a question from Paul was around, obviously this season coming, we don't know exactly how it's going to look just yet. So if they started with just 12 teams per division playing each other once, does Full-Time have the ability to then build extra fixtures, i.e. the reverse fixtures, or can it split down into further smaller groups to play if that's needed?
Yeah, I'm happy to pick that up. Absolutely, yes. I mean, you'll just add, if you've got additional teams or whatever, add them in whole game. But by all means, you can certainly add additional fixtures by using the fixture scheduler or manual fixtures, whichever way you want to do it. But Full-Time will certainly accommodate that.
Excellent. A question from Chris was, why do I want to add extra other fixtures, should I say? It appears to me to generate extra work for no advantage.
Yeah, good question, to be honest. It's entirely up to you. You do not need to add additional fixtures, but some leagues like to keep everything in one place, I suppose, if they want all the friendlies on there, or if they want to put the county cups on, so that the teams have got one point of contact, really, one place to go on the Full-Time public website to see when they've got matches. If they don't have their own club website.
Brilliant.
It's not necessary, yeah, if you don't.
If Pitch Finder has the wrong name or any wrong details, how can this be updated?
There's a link when you go on to Pitch Finder. There's a link. When you go on to venues, and it's been linked. There's a link that takes you to report any misinformation on there. And I think it generally Pitch Finder. I got it. Turnaround. The turnaround is usually in a few days, and they'll get back to you and update the information for you.
Real. In terms of other fixtures, can you show no extra time?
That's a bit rubbish, actually. It is one that's on our backlog at the minute. No, it forces you to put in a minimum of a minute. But you know, any team. Well, you would like to think that the team had sense to think, well, I can't just play a minute's extra time. Just let your team know. They should be well aware prior to having matches whether they should be allowed extra time or not. But at the minute, it forces you to put in 1 minute each half. But it is something that's on the backlog, and we will get to it.
Fantastic. Question from Paul at the Scunthorpe District League. If I schedule cup competitions before league fixtures, will the fixture scheduler not schedule league fixtures on those dates? So pick up as a clash.
I'm going to hand the schedule once to Jack. to Jack. No, I don't believe it would take in the scheduler group. You would need to check the conflicts afterwards. So the best way to do it would be to do the availability via the division. So put in those weekends where the teams can't play within the division, or schedule the groups and then check the conflicts afterwards and reschedule them from there.
Yeah. Fabulous. Can you download your fixtures in bulk from Full-Time before you publish them to live, and if so, in what format?
I know you can download your fixtures from downloads, but before they're published, I haven't seen it before, but it might be worth me checking. So I think that would need to come into the Full-Time at the fa.com one, just so I can check it. But I don't think you can download unpublished fixtures.
Yeah, let's make sure we get that on the knowledge base. We will be putting a video recording of this session, and we'll also put the Q&A on there. So we'll make sure that we'll get that a truthful answer to that question by the time we publish that.
Fabulous, thank you. From Delboy, after using the advanced scheduler, were the fixtures then made public instantly, or can they be hidden first before being published?
You can hide your fixtures before you publish them.
Perfect, nice and short and sweet. Can we upload and download fixtures in an Excel format?
Yes, it is a specific format. You can import them from the top of my head, and it's a while since I've done this. You export spreadsheet that gives you the format that it needs to be in, and then you can import fixtures that way.
Fab. From Chris, will there be an opportunity for webinars regarding referee allocations and including cup fixtures in the fixture lists?
Well, we do touch on the referee allocation. We'll touch on, because it has changed slightly. We've updated the referee stuff a little bit, so that will be touched on in the integration webinars. If you're on there, I'd be interested to see if there was something specific. Maybe send something in chat if it is something specific that you're looking at, and we can certainly have a chat about it.
Brill. David Bell from the Carlisle City Sunday Football League has asked if he can please send info on how to access recording, because he had to join anonymously. I'll answer that one while I'll give you a bit of a rest. David, regardless of if you've logged in anonymously or not, just clicking the link that brought you here tonight will take you to the recording. So even for those people that weren't able to get on tonight, so if you want to share it with the rest of your committee, they can still access via the same link you joined tonight, but there'll be no login. It'll just take you straight to the recording. So that's that one. We've got a couple more just come in whilst we've been talking. Where from Duncan Lewis, when looking at conflicts, it only shows scheduled times. If a team updates their kickoff, say from 10 AM to 11 AM, does this then not show in red on the conflict screen? And can this be updated?
If it's within the before and after times that the league allows, then yes, it should show. If it's not, then send it into our team, and we will check it out. But it should show as long as the conflict range is specified within the time.
Fabulous. Hopefully quite straightforward one for you again from David from Carlisle. Can you hide fixtures?
Yeah, under fixtures and then hidden fixtures, you can hide fixtures, but just be careful as well, because a lot of people wonder where their fixtures have gone sometimes and forget they've hidden them. So if you're ever missing fixtures or anything like that, always check fixtures, hide fixtures, and have a look there.
Yeah, you can hide specific dates as well, can't you? It's, you know, you can hide them so far in advance. So yeah, worth a look at that.
Cool. One from Suzanne. It's more of a potential one for us to take away and try and work into the system. But in other fixtures, when setting these up, it's a pain to scroll through all teams. Can we just have the teams in one age group to select from, as it was open to human error to select the same team name in under 12s, 13s, 14s, etc.?
Yes, that makes sense. If we've got a filter, let me just, I'll make a note of that. So yeah, it's a good idea.
Excellent. Having used specialty software for nearly 30 years and found it does everything that I want and need, I'm coming rather late to this system. Is there a practice league available for me to experiment with until I know what I'm doing?
Yeah, we can set you up with a practice league, no problem. As long as you email us in or go to full time and click the create new league form, and that comes through to us anyway. So either email us or go to full time admin and click create new league, and we'll set up that way.
Brill. I think we've got only a couple more left. How do you hide fixtures before you publish them?
To be honest, from the advanced scheduler, so you get the chance to review them first, but then I think it might be a case of clicking confirm and then going in and hiding them straight away. But I mean, there'll be hopefully seconds in between that. But you can review them before you publish them. But then if you choose to publish them and then still want them hidden, you can do that. I think there might also be an option to just hide all division fixtures as well. Claire, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, under divisions you can hide the fixtures prior to. So yeah.
Cool. Question from Wayne. He's new to full time. How does he get set up a new league on the system?
Yeah, go to the full-time website, and the banner should be create new league, and you click on that, and you'll just fill out a form and it will come through to us, and we will set you up a login which will come through to your email address.
Brilliant. I've got, I think, 2 more left. One from Kev at the YEL. Are referees, if a match is postponed, lots of them, obviously lots of them last season, it would help to have an easier way to remove refs from all postponed games rather than individually. So again, I think that's something we can take back. Claire, if you want to make a note of that one.
I will. And hello, Kev. Not spoke to you for a while.
Thank you very much. And I think the last one from Keith. We've got 3 teams playing at the same venue, and each play each team once on the day. I don't know what the extent of the question is looking for, Keith, but I'm fairly sure that if you want to set up 3 teams playing in the same venue to play each other once on the same day, you can build that in, as Jack just said. So yeah, if you want to put some information, I'll probably be able to come back to you within the chat. And Jack, you're going back to that one. And finally, this is my very last question. Is it possible to create games before we have affiliated on whole game system?
Yes, you can. However, if you are a whole game system player registration league, you can certainly integrate before your sanction's complete and paid. But please don't create any fixtures before you integrate it, because it just confuses things and you will just have to re-input them. So if you join the full-time integration, or even if you listen to a recording of the full-time integration webinar next week, then that will be fully explained on there. If you're a whole game system player registration league, wait until you're integrated. If not, then absolutely you can create fixtures at any point.
That is literally all the questions that have been in so far. So thank you for that, and I will leave it back to you.
Oh, fantastic. Well, very quickly, I'm not going to labour on this. These are the dates of our full-time integration webinars next week. We've got a couple for brand new leagues, because it's slightly different, and also a couple for leagues who are already using whole game system player registration plus full-time. So we will make sure, Sam, if you wouldn't mind putting that link in the chat, that would be absolutely fantastic. Jack's already covered the knowledge base, and again, Sam or Jack can put this link to grassroots technology.thefa.com, and that will take you into the knowledge base that Jack briefly covered for you before. But now I'm going to hand over to Mr. Batchelor, who's been patiently waiting for us, and you have got slightly more time than you did have the other night.
Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Jack. I'll keep it really brief. I appreciate it's a game of football live on Sky. So firstly, thank you for all you do for football in your league roles. I appreciate it. Times can be very difficult, but you do an amazing job, so thank you. Hopefully you are aware of this page on the league website, on the FA website for leagues and clubs, and hopefully you're all receiving a monthly leagues and clubs newsletter. So on the website, if you're not seeing it, it's updated monthly. We've got some case studies of clubs and leagues about their success or what they do particularly well. So that's probably worth looking at. We've got support, legal support for Muckles LLP. So if you're a Charter Standard League, you've got access to 30 minutes of free legal advice. But on that link, you'll see guidance around a number of issues, including facility hire and GDPR and legal structures. So if you've not been on that for a while, it might be worth having a look on there. We've got a link on there to the technological digital gym that we just talked about, and running AGMs online and support around COVID-19, obviously at the minute. And then on the next slide, we've been running some monthly webinars, so hopefully you've seen them. And this month it's all about community engagement. So if you've not joined or missed them, if you go onto the page I just talked about, you'll be able to sign up for them and be able to receive recordings for any that you have missed. We are looking at how we can have it easier for you to view or pass recordings. So this month is about community engagement. The previous month we talked about using social media marketing. So yeah, hopefully, again, just a big thank you for everything you do in football, and I'll hand you back to Claire.
Oh, you're a star. Thank you, Nathan. Well, that's it from us. But, you know, I just want to say that the things that we're doing, we're making lots of changes in whole game and lots of improvements into full time. So we are trying to modernise our systems to greatly save the game and to make life easier for the volunteers. But if you have any questions or any comments or any suggestions, then please do get in touch with us at grassrootstechnology@thefa.com. And all it leaves me to say is, again, you know, just reiterating what Nathan says, just a big thank you from me, Jack, Sam and Nathan. So enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy the football, and hopefully we'll speak to you all next week.